four, three, two, one.
This broadcast, telecast, podcast, and whatever the hell else it is copyrighted by the Rad Network and the Rob and Steve Sports Show, all found at theradnetwork.com, and is for private use of our audience. Any reproduction, account, or descriptions of this madness without the express permission of the Rad Network and Williams Broadcasting and Rob's really mean lawyers is prohibited. So just don't do it. It's the Rob and Steve Sports Show, a show all about the thrill of Rob's victories.
At 1-0 deficit, Ricky goes, a pitch taken, he's going to have it, he does! Ricky Henderson, no contest, steals third base, jerks the bag from its moorings, and holds it aloft, representing number 939.
Luke Brock was December a great base stealer, but today I'm the greatest of all time. Thank you.
And the agony of Steve's defeats.
Oh, he has trouble with the snap, and the ball is free. It's picked up by Michigan State's Jalen Wash Jackson, and he scores on the last play of the game. Unbelievable. Michigan State is still the big boy on the block in the state of Michigan. A shocking ending to this rivalry game. And just when it looked like Michigan had made a number of statements regarding what's going on in the state, the Big Ten race, its position nationally, this happens.
And sometimes even the thrill of Steve's victories.
6-on-7-14. Here's the pitch by Downing. Swinging. There's the drive into left center field. That ball is going to be out of here. It's gone. It's 7-15. There's a new home run champion of all time. It's Henry Aaron.
Email the show at ras@theradnetwork.com. And now, the Rob and Steve Sports Show.
I swear I watched different football games last night than the sports media did. All right, we'll get to that in a few. I actually want to start right away, Steve, with I'm not a big conspiracy theory guy. I know things happen for a reason in terms of timing. Marketing departments will tell you now's the time to go, so this story won't get paid attention to. I don't know if that's what's going on here. I know nobody's talking about it. You've been talking about it since the NIL started, since college football started, and then recently, I'm not saying it's Trump's fault, but politicians got involved. Donald Trump came in and they said, we're going to put together this plan, the 5-year plan. And you right away, we started going, wait a minute, what this eligibility thing, can guys go back to college? Okay, so there's been two developments this week. Earlier this week, a Louisiana judge granted a temporary restraining order regarding efforts by former college athletes to return for another season. And one current NFL player has since entered the transfer portal. So guys on the bubble, I might not make the team. I want to be able to go back. I got a 5th year of eligibility, etc. And was it Tuesday or Wednesday this week? This Louisiana judge said, yeah, that makes sense to me. That follows from the NCAA's adoption that we talked about of 5 years as the standard amount of eligibility. And so those who used only 4 years have argued, as you said they would, that the 5th year should apply to them retroactively. So they're going, hey, I still have a 5th year. Well, this morning, a ruling that opened that door was closed by the U.S. Court of Appeals. What it means, so they stayed the stay, or they stayed the injunction. What it means for other rulings remains to be seen, and perhaps more importantly, what it means for college football. It's all chaos. What about the complicated college programs and the foundation to lure these NFL players and the systems who want long-term order, the coaches who want short-term wins, and oh, by the way, it all starts in 9 days. I mean, the college football season starts in 9 days. This is not a small thing that they're banding back and forth between the courts.
No, this is a really big thing. As we've said, there are NFL players that are looking to possibly go back into college football. Right now, if you make the NFL team, and I'm not saying, you're not making it as a starter or even the 53-man roster, just making it onto the practice squad. I believe the salary is $250,000 somewhere in there, which I'll be honest with you, that's really good money. I'd love to have a job that paid me that kind of money. But they can go back into college football and get 500,000, $1 million in these NIL deals, and possibly go back into the draft. And that's another thing that I think is sitting out there is, these players were drafted. Some are unrestricted free agents, and that's a little bit different. But if you were drafted and then the court system goes in and says, hey, look, we're going to let you play another year of college football. When I drafted you, you didn't have another year of college football. Do I retain your rights? Do you go back into the draft? Where does it go for the? So there's so many things going on here. And in such a short time, as you said, the season starts in 9 days. The other question you have to look at is, okay, so I am, and I'll just say, running back, for instance, and I'm a running back for Ohio State, and I'm getting paid my $2, $3, $4 million, whatever it is. But this other kid who decided to come back out of college football, and maybe running back's not the best position, linebacker. But now this NFL player is like, look, I can make the roster. I can be a practice team player. But I'd rather go back and play for Ohio State or Indiana or Georgia or one of these top schools. And then I become really the starter, because if I'm good enough to play in the NFL, I got to believe you're good enough to play one of these Power 4 programs. And then what happens to the kid that's there? Does he lose his NIL money? Do they transfer it and put it to this guy coming back out of the NFL onto the team? Somebody on the team most likely is going to get cut. You went from, look, I'm a player on it and I may not be a starter, but I'm on this football team. Now they're taking this guy in, and right before the season starts, they let me go. Do I lose a scholarship? There are so many levels that this hits on, that you just wonder how they let it get this late into the season to figure this out.
So the people that are covering this are basically painting it as just a complete and total mess, a debacle with no real end in sight. In other words, this isn't really what rises to the level usually of the Supreme Court swooping in and doing an ex parte Supreme Court get involved here thing, but you got a season that starts in 9 days. Now you laid out a couple different so an NFL player who has a fifth year of eligibility, who doesn't make the team, doesn't make a practice squad, whatever the situation is, he can go back, and not only can he's going to walk in, like you said, he's probably going to be the starter at a college program. He's got some NFL experience. He was good enough to even, get drafted or whatever, be on the team. So he can make a name for himself, etc. But there is also the NIL thing that you alluded to. So for the 2026 season, minimum practice squad salary is $247,500 over the 18-week season. But a lot of guys who have played 4 years NCAA, they've had a taste of the NFL, they can command more in the NIL market just because of their name and experience, right?
Yes, and just think about that fact. I can make like twice as much, if not up to 4 times as much, possibly even more, playing college football than I can pro football. Why wouldn't you go back? If nothing more than the paycheck, and if they allow them to go back into the draft, let's say they go and have an outstanding, another year in college football, does that move their draft position up? And we're not talking about like first, second, third round draft picks. I think we're talking about the undrafted free agents, the players that may have gotten drafted in the 6th or 7th round. Let's say you're Carson Beck, Carson Beck's used up 5 years. But let's say Carson Beck only played 3 years or 4 years, and so he wasn't eligible, and he laid an egg in that first one. It's like, hey, look, Carson Beck, you can go back. You can go transfer right now to Texas Tech, who lost their quarterback, Sorsby. You can go to Texas Tech. We'll give you the $4 million from that we were going to give Sorsby. We'll give it to you, Carson Beck, and you can go play, one more year of college football. Maybe that improves your draft position. etc. I just think this opens so many things. And then if you're the quarterback and you've been going through spring drills all the summer, everything, and you're the starting quarterback for Texas Tech, suddenly go, whoa, hold it a second. My NIL money just got pulled away. Now I'm the second stringer. What happens to the second stringer goes to third. Well, I happen to be the fourth stringer, and now I'm off the team, but it's too late for me to go someplace else because maybe I could go to North Texas and be the starter and put up good numbers so I can enter the transfer portal to then go to a good school next year. It just the domino effects, if they permit this to happen, it is crazy.
That is the thing. The more you talk through all of these possible scenarios and options, and it just opens more and more doors and more layers. And unfortunately, you wonder for how many of these scenarios is the only immediate answer court. Because you laid out a scenario there of again, this is made up, it can't happen. Carson Beck's eligibility is ruled out, but just let's pretend, like Steve said, 3 years. He lays an egg in that first preseason game. It's clear he's not going to make, or he's going to be third string at best with the Cardinals. He says, "Whoa, wait a minute, I can go make my $5 million." He goes back to Texas Tech. He goes to Texas Tech. Now we have this trickle down. The kid who was going to be the starter right away is, wait a minute, I don't know if something happened to my NIL money, but I was going to be the starter right away. That dumbs down my value to the NFL. And then the second guy who's now third, and then your third guy who's now fourth who gets cut, they all have the ability to say, wait a minute, outside of the purview of now that we have this change in eligibility, which wasn't around when I made this decision, and now you're taking money out of my, and the only place to go is court, which is what no one wants. And I don't know the way this is being described to me. I don't know where else it does end. Now, one more, and then you can jump in. You've alluded to it a couple times. Okay, fine. A lot of times we're talking about undrafted guys, or like you said, 6th or 7th round picks. There's always that lightning, Steve. Here's a bottle. Tom Brady, Brock Purdy, they were 6, 7. What about the teams? Do they get some compensation if a 6th rounder that they drafted goes back, plays, and is now eligible for another draft and another team? Oh, and he's better and he's got more experience. What about the team that drafted him 6th? The more you talk it through, the worse it gets.
Yes, and that's that part. Who retains their right? And then you take Cam Whitmore, just got traded from to Cleveland Cavaliers, and everything I've read, he is about to get released. Well, let's say he was that marginal player, only played 2 years or one and done, whatever. Well, now does one of his options open up that, look, I can go play in college basketball because I've only used up 1, 2, 3 years of eligibility. And now he's able to, I'm out of the NBA. Can I go play college basketball, go get some big NIL money from Kentucky, North Carolina, one of these schools? It just on every level. We're talking football right now because it's 9 days, but this also goes to college basketball. That becomes a factor too. So you were one of the undrafted free agents, players in last year's NBA draft, which only goes 2 rounds. Can you go back now? What's going to happen? And the transfer portal's closed. So are they just forcing the transfer portal open again? And if, like I said, you're the one who, well, look, they're bringing this guy in, then I need to enter the transfer portal because I need to go play somewhere else that they'll pay me. And you open up these transfer portals this late in the season, and it's a free for all. Let's say that you're there and you're not getting along with your coach right now, but you're already locked in. And sweet, I can go play someplace else. Maybe somebody else will offer me. There are so many things that go on with this, and it's ugly. It really is, and we only have a small window to figure this out.
And when you start talking about things like, are you going to open up the NIL transfer portal again? The only way something like that happens with 9 days ago is a lawyer trudges into court and says, this is why you have to order this organization to reopen this. It's causing a restraint of trade or a lack of wages or this kind of thing. And a court goes, oh my God, 9 days. And then, like you said, there's all of the collateral damage, if that happened, of everyone else who goes, well, I want to transfer now to.
And let's take it a step farther. So you're the starting quarterback for Texas Tech, because we're using that in that situation. And you've played 4 years. This is your last year of eligibility, and you're playing Texas Tech. You have a really good season. Maybe you're on the radar to possibly get drafted into the NFL. And now Carson Beck, and again, Fixel on here, just to name people now, transfers in and becomes the starting quarterback at Texas Tech. Well, okay, now you have to leave. And I'll go with the same example. Well, now you're going to North Texas, say, and you've taken that spot. Chances of getting drafted in the NFL off of North Texas a lot smaller than getting drafted out of Texas Tech. So now does that quarterback have the right to now sue and say, look, I was an NFL prospect. I might have been drafted into the NFL. You took my right and my ability to get drafted because I'm not getting drafted from North Texas. It's just not happening type of thing. And I know you go, oh, Josh Allen, out of what, we've had quarterbacks come out. But this late in the season, so do I have the right now to say, look, I would have been drafted in the NFL. Now I'm not. So now I get a sue there too.
Right. And all again, remember that the burden of proof is even lower in civil cases, which is what we're talking about. Although we're asking for litigation, we're asking for, restraining orders and things like that. But the ability to just say, to use the Brock Purdy, Tom Brady example, it has happened, Your Honor. It's not it's never happened before thing. And oh, by the way, here's 75 other players, because there's plenty who have gone on in the 5th, 6th, 7th round who have had great careers, earned millions, etc. It's for a guy who's sitting there, or gal in a robe, who just has to adjudicate what's in front of them. It is a compelling case to make you do something because of the timeline of it all. So let me ask you this. As it stands right now, does anything about what we've talked about, what's going on, affect the NFL season today?
I don't think so, because I think if the player was going to have a bigger part of the team, such as make the roster, I wouldn't go back to playing college football if I'm going to make the 53-man roster. The tough question becomes is if I'm on the practice squad and I'm good enough to make the practice squad, but I can make double, triple, 4 times the money playing college football and have the possibility of improving my draft stock, I think those players do go back to college football because, yeah, I'm on the practice squad, but chances are I'm not going to play this year. Maybe I can improve my situation and go. And if you were an undrafted, and you're invited to camp, all of those guys should go back because they've been released at this point. If they still have eligibility left, every one of them should be filing to go back into college football to play another year because it can't get worse. I'm not on an NFL team and I didn't get drafted. So my career's over. If I can go play one more year of college football, why not?
So, and I think you've answered all of my follow-up questions. It would still be this season a negligible effect on the NFL because of the quality of players who might do this. But as it stands right now, words like chaos and all of these other things for college football are appropriate without knowing where we're going to be in 9 days. Or is it hyperbole?
Well, I'm going to take it a step farther on you. Now, if they permit this to happen, then doesn't every player college football, look, let's come out early. Let's see what we can do. If I can get drafted, great. If I can't make the team, I can just go back to college football. So wouldn't that precedence has been set? I can be taken. I still have eligibility left. I choose not to play for the NFL team, and I go back to college football because in spring training, whatever, training camp, I realize I may not make the team. How do you stop it at that point? Because, as I said, precedence has been set.
And declaring for the draft is meaningless. It's all player. It's all upside to the player.
Yes.
I don't know. This is what I mean, Steve. This is why I love talking these things through with you, because the more you bring up, the worse it gets. I'm sorry to repeat myself, but the more we talk about all of the things this can lead to, because you're doing it correctly. It's like the unknown effect of what you do and how it affects everything else. And it isn't unknown. It's just, it's not thought of because you're making decisions at this rapid pace kind of thing. And that's what okay, well, let's say we got 9 days to go. if this is allowed to happen, what do all of the people not involved in this case right now do, and how does that affect things? And you're right, that's exactly what happens.
And to add on to that, there's no only
Hmm.
upside for the players. I mean, don't you declare every year, hey, look, I'm going to declare for the draft. Let's go test it out. Okay, I'm not going to make it. Let's go back to college football. I'm going to declare for the draft. And so then the NFL's got to change, how they handle the draft. Are you only allowed to, to declare for the draft once in your
Right.
lifetime? And we can't allow that. Look, if you don't play that year, because currently my understanding is you could be drafted, you could sit out a year, you go back into the draft again. We watched it with Bo Jackson. I think it was Bo Jackson, drafted by Tampa Bay or whoever it was. Drafted by Tampa Bay. He said, I'm not going, sat out, and then came back, and the Raiders drafted him or something to that extent. So the NFL's got to go change all of that and how they handle eligible for the draft and going forward, too.
And I can't keep up with it because all of the leagues they change. Basketball, you gotta you have to have some education, etc. So NFL, can you declare for the NFL draft after you played 1 year as a freshman?
No, I believe you have to play 2 years, or
Okay.
it's like 2 years college football, or at 2 or 3 years from the time you graduated from high school. You cannot go after 1 year. And we've seen there was Marcus Spears, I want to say his name, running back, Oklahoma, who challenged it. There was the kid at Ohio State who challenged it and lost. So we've had those players try to declare early, and they have lost their court cases.
And to your point about how the NFL has to do things differently, depending on what they change about their rules, etc. If let's say whatever the earliest possible point that you can declare on, 2 seasons and a few games, whatever the hell that number is, back to there's no loss in it for the players. Player declares, he knows if I don't go where I want to go, I can just go back. Now the NFL also has to go to the diamond in the rough thing. Wait a minute. This guy's declaring at the barest minimum, but do we think he's going to be, are we willing to spend a third or fourth round because everybody else is, everything is changing over this one little thing that nobody's talking about in terms of NCAA eligibility, NIL, etc., to where this could be a completely different ballgame a year from now.
It would. It would shift everything. The NFL draft would look much more like the NBA draft, not just one and done. It'd be say two and done. But you're prospecting. Look, let's go figure it out. And as you said, so I hit the draft, and the Arizona Cardinals take me. I'm going back to college. We don't get the Matt Leinart to say, look, I don't want to go to this team or whatever. I'm loving college football. I'm at USC, chance to win a championship. I'm going to go back. Now you get to see what team selects you. And then you get to decide, do I want to go back? Because I don't want to go play in Cleveland, or I don't want to play in Detroit, or wherever it is. And now you get to that whole, well, we're not going to draft him because we know we won't sign. So we have to draft somebody that we know we can sign, and that affects that in every way, not just the prospecting, but who can you sign who may still have eligibility left?
They got a lot to work out with this. All right, another business side thing. This is one I don't think most fans even think about. And to get to the end of the story, it's not going to affect your ability to go out and enjoy games. Might raise the price of your beer and your food. Now, Steve has some background in this, and here's the thing the fans never think of. You walk into a sports book, you walk into a sports bar, you go to rite of passage for me for years. You go to Hawaii for Christmas. Football starts at 8 in the morning, and the bars are packed. There's a waiting list, and you never think, how do these guys have all these games? They've got to be paying for, well, they've got to at least have the direct ticket thing. Are they paying for streaming? And we don't think about that. We just want to know they got the game. There have long been, as I understand it, through knowing bar owners, talking to Steve, et cetera, various deals, et cetera, for these businesses, bars, restaurants, sports books, to buy packages so that you can come in and enjoy their business. But hey, all of you could be at home paying for these packages. So where's the middle ground thing? I'll let Steve clean this up however he wants. The story that today, to where it may affect your pocketbook, is earlier this year, bar and restaurant owners were told, We're done with satellite. There's no more DirecTV Sunday Ticket. We're not doing it anymore. It's been on YouTube. It's staying on YouTube. EverPass is the company that distributes NFL products to commercial establishments, bars, and restaurants who sent a clear message about the obsolescence of satellite and used the term irreversible. EverPass said, quote, this is in May, the shift happening in live sports distribution is much bigger than any one company or product. There are no active discussions between EverPass and DirecTV regarding NFL Sunday Ticket. EverPass is the only authorized commercial distribution platform for NFL Sunday Ticket, beginning with the 2026 season. If your eyes glaze over there, the only people that can give you Sunday Ticket said, we are not talking DirecTV. It's not on the table. You got to stream it. They said that in May. Bar owners, restaurant owners, they went out, a lot of them. They spent the money that they had to spend. It's a complete technological overhaul. I will tell you personally, from building radio stations and radio shows, the idea of going from satellite to streaming in a bar and a restaurant, this is not a couple of wires. This is very expensive. It's a lot. And they did this because they were told the technological infrastructure was no longer valid for DirecTV because they're out of the ticket. They're out of the DirecTV business, or they're out of the football business, the Sunday Ticket business. Okay, well, we got a YouTube, and who knows where they're going after that. So the bars and the restaurants, they spent the money, they installed the streaming capacity, and all for nothing. Because DirecTV has resurfaced with a Sunday Ticket deal. This was late last month, and even at the time I went, so. And then I remembered Steve. Then I remember the stories. And now all the rumblings have started. Are we headed towards more lawsuits, or we'll just make you pay $28 for your beer? Because bar owners who played the waiting game and bet that EverPass would deal with DirecTV, they love it. They didn't spend all that money. But most did. Most upgraded their infrastructure, coughed up plenty of money. They didn't need to spend. And now the L word is out there. Lawsuits, class action, who do we go after? EverPass or whatever. Well, they're licensed to the NFL. That's where the money is. More lawsuits, more suing, more money, more headaches that don't have to do with us enjoying the game on the field.
Okay, now this is something I can speak to because I am very aware of how all of this went. And with DirecTV, they lost it to YouTube. But YouTube only really had the rights to residential, not the commercial aspect of it. And they had reached an agreement that you could show it with the DirecTV through the DirecTV for that package. Yes, EverPass came out in the spring and said, we are the exclusive. We've purchased that. And so everyone also understands that EverPass is now really the only player out there. So as a commercial business, when you want to show that game on Netflix, you got to buy a one-off with EverPass. When you want to show that game on whatever, those Christmas Day games, we had to pay for the Christmas Day games. We had to pay for the Peacock Network. So you're already dealing with EverPass with the one-offs, and now they've gone out and they purchased the commercial aspect of the NFL package. So YouTube still has residential, but EverPass has this. With EverPass, for each TV that you want to show the game on, you have to go purchase the receiver where you have said there is this part, and you have the receiver box like you used to have with DirecTV, etc. And I want to say, and man, I hope this doesn't get me in trouble, but they're like $300 a piece. So for every TV you want to show on TV, you have to pay $300. But this is where, and I know how a sportsbook goes because we have, like the router that has X amount of inputs, X amount of outputs. It used to be like you had to buy them in sets of 12 or whatever it was. Because I know we've been on like, a 32 to a 48 to a 64 to 128 inputs and outputs, because that's how you control all the TVs throughout a casino, sports books, etc. Now, the interesting part is I was aware that EverPass was the exclusive, but from my understandings is, and this is where there could be those lawsuits type of thing, that EverPass was still negotiating with DirecTV because we were one of the ones that were told EverPass, and that's it. It's your only choice. But through rumblings here and there, we had heard that they were negotiating with DirecTV and they didn't know for sure. And sometime in July or whatever was the deadline on whether it would be for DirecTV. I can tell you from our book that we did not go out and buy all the different receivers at that time, because it was, look, if we can get it through DirecTV, why are we going out and buying all of these other receivers? Because you got to show all the games. So
And you could always buy them last minute, basically, right? I mean, last 10 days or so.
Yes. So we were one that did not go out and buy all the different receivers because we wanted to see how it played out. Now, the sad part off of that is they took this a lot deeper, because we had, and I want to say that the deadline date I had heard was July 1st. But we hit late into it, and it was like, look, they're not going to reach an agreement with DirecTV, from our understanding, as the talks have broken off. And I believe that we were a property that went out and purchased those receivers, because you have to. You have a sports book, you have to show the games on TV. You're a sports bar, you got to be showing sports in a sports bar. You can't be showing other things. So it's really been handled poorly. There's an awful lot of questions that are coming up with this from the commercial end of it. Is, okay, you're paying a set fee. Well, let's say that you're new to this. Let's say week one doesn't go off well and it doesn't stream right. There's problems with it, etc. And I will use DirecTV as an example. I remember many, many, many years ago when it went to the Sunday Ticket and DirecTV had it. We did not have any DirecTV package games available because they had issues for like the 10 o'clock games, and I don't think they got it fixed until the half times of the 1 o'clock games. So you're paying for the whole package. Well, there's only 18 weeks now, and I think at the time there was 16 weeks. It was like, look, I'm paying we want the money back. DirecTV, no, we're not refunding anything. You bought the package. You didn't buy it by the week. You bought the whole package. Well, how's that going to happen, and what happens if things go down? EverPass hasn't done it to this extent with all the commercial business. If we have an issue, who do we call? Because there's many times, look, we paid the subscription, but you forgot to turn it on. And I can tell you in a sports book, so many times the baseball season starts, the basketball season, and that first day, oh, yeah, sorry, we forgot to turn it off on our end. Well, what happens there if they forget to activate your account and now you've paid it, you have all. So there are so many questions going into this, and I'm still waiting to see if it's going to go off smoothly for week one. But it's a big investment. It's not the residential. I can tell you, in the state of Nevada, the amount of money they charge is criminal, and it's. The state of Nevada is treated differently than every other commercial business in the country, which is wrong. But that's what the NFL has done, because they took the stance of, you're a gambling, so we're going to pay for that if you want it, because you're in a state that gambles. The problem is they didn't go out and hit all the other states when they legalized gambling, and they never backed Nevada off. So if you ever have heard how much Nevada pays to show these football packages, you would just shake your head. It's such an unbelievable amount that the sports books in Nevada have to pay compared to any other business throughout the country.
So, okay, so a bar or sports book or whatever, you've got to pay this. We're calling it, and like I said, I would have guessed it, this $300-ish fee, one-time fee for a receiver you need on every single TV that's going to capture, if you're getting the streaming, the YouTube version. So right away, a small sports bar with a dozen, I mean, that's a really small sports bar. They got to lay out $3,600 just to get all 12 TVs to have this thing, right? Okay. Now you're saying that's just to retrofit that. Now you still have to pay for the package.
Yes, and the package is based on your fire code occupancy. If you go to a bar and a restaurant and it's 50 people, you're going to pay off 50 people based on that. You go to a big sports bar and it's 200 because you got a restaurant. Well, now you're paying as if it's 4 times the price of what you're going to spend for the 50 fire code occupancy, and it just keeps going up from there. And where it was different for the NFL and Nevada is they went off of not fire code occupancy, they went off hotel occupancy.
Oh,
So you think about those,
wow.
and that will blow. It's like, oh my gosh. Well, you got a big casino floor, you got the restaurant, so anybody who can view it, this is where you go, and it's unbelievable. Where
So
yes,
if we keep the numbers a little more manageable here, because that's astounding. So a sports book that opened this summer and their entire goal was football. They invested these $300 in all of their TVs. They've got 20 of them, so there's $6,000 they invested or whatever just to have that. Okay, now they've got to pay the package for Sunday ticket, and their fire code occupancy is 100 people. So they're going to be charged based on 100 people, even if they only have 32 people come in for football?
they have it broken down into different categories. So like 0 to say 100, 101 to 299, 300 plus to 500.
But it's based on capacity, not on who shows
Capacity.
up.
Yes,
Right.
capacity.
So my new sports bar that's just trying to break through that holds 100 people, but I only got 70 in. I paid for 100. I paid for the
Yes.
package of 0 to 100 or 0 to 200 or whatever.
Yeah, there's no discount. If you only have 20 people to show up, you have to pay for the fire code occupancy of that establishment.
Will this you said you might see, it depends because we don't know all the inner workings of whether no lawsuits yet have been filed. Is this going to just be like I started in the beginning? Is it just all our food's going up, our beer and our wings and everything's just going to go up, and that's how bar eaters are going to eat it?
No, because if you recall, they filed a lawsuit either last year or the year before against the NFL for price gouging. And that sits out there. That has not been settled. And I'm sorry, but there's price gouging here. I don't think anybody can deny it. The NFL has and said, well, our package is that valuable that we can charge a higher rate than what it is. And we can charge by occupancy, not by actual attendance. And I understand the NFL's viewpoint on that is, okay, if you can put 100 people in there, how do I really want you doing a head count every day? And do I believe your head count? Oh no, I only had 24 people in here. I'm just going to hit the 100 and we're done with it and we move forward. So I get that part of the NFL. It's just the amount of money and I don't hear people really ever talk about this. But if you want to show sports, and it's for every sport, you got to pay for the basketball package, NBA, NHL, I mean, ESPN Plus, and the part that's even more interesting that I never understood. ESPN Plus for a business is different than ESPN Plus at your home. At your home, you get everything. We ran ESPN Plus through our DirecTV at first. The problem there is DirecTV only had 5 stations they could give to you for ESPN Plus. So you only got like 5 games a day. And I never understood that. I'm like, somebody's got to give me the package like I get at home where I get all of these games. And they would pick the 5 games. It wasn't even your choice. So if they went out and they burned 2 European soccer games on it, then okay, I only get 3 college basketball games, and I don't even have a choice of what it is.
Or those days where the NHL plays, every single team is playing in 30-minute increments, and it's all on ESPN Plus.
And there's only 5 games that they choose that you will get it. It has expanded now, and I want to say now with our ESPN package, I think we get 10. So we get like 10 games a day or something like that. It's still restricted. It's nothing close than you get at home. And many people don't understand that. And we would get customers all the time. It's on ESPN Plus. Why can't you put it on? It's on. And we're like, look, we can't get that. What do you mean it's ESPN Plus? Don't you buy the package? Yes, we do, but we buy it for business, not residential. Well, I don't get it. I can get it on my phone, and why can't I see it on your TV? And we would get that all the time because it's restricted. You pay a lot more money because that's how it works than you do for residential, and you're restricted.
But that's where the good old the call me agent of all casino complaints. I get it on my phone. Eventually, here's a few drink tickets, sir. Go enjoy your day. That'll usually get him to go.
Rob and Steve continue next, only on the radnetwork.com.
The first time Corey walked into my home, I came around the corner, extended my right hand to shake it, and said to him, "Wow, you're big." And that would be Corey from quickdumpsters.com. Quick is spelled wrong intentionally. Quick, Q-U-I-K dumpsters.com. That's quickdumpsters.com. Corey's yet another maggot launching his own locally owned and operated business, and boy, did I need him, and really we all do. Things pile up, you get frustrated, you keep saying, we need to make a dump run. Pretty soon it's more than a dump run, and now you need to rent a truck or have one of those ugly upside down box cars parked in front of your house that you fill up yourself. Or you do like I did, you call Corey at quickdumpsters.com. In my case, my house had fallen into complete disarray as my late wife Christina had lost her 2-year battle with congestive heart failure, and amongst the many things left were gathering her things and finding what to donate, what had to just go in that pile of stuff where we were both going, why did we ever buy this? And it all could have been so overwhelming had Corey not just walked in, taken charge, and removed dozens of boxes of total junk, unusable dog kennels, desks that were falling apart, a worthless old smoker that couldn't be fixed, bag after bag of crap, and I can't remember what else. He was quick, spelled wrong, Q-U-I-K, quiet and clean. Well, he wasn't clean. I mean, he was. But I'm not commenting on his hygiene. I meant that his work was clean. He swept everything when he was done, and the house looked like he'd never even been there. Corey's the real deal, and I couldn't be more proud and happy to call him a brand new advertiser. His story is incredible, his dedication unmatched, and his motivation to succeed larger than he is, and that's saying something. Quotes are free. You don't even have to have them over to your house. Just send him some pics or videos, and you'll get your price, schedule your day and time, and watch someone else get that junk out of your house. Go to quickdumpsters.com. Quick, Q-U-I-K, dumpsters.com. Quick, Q-U-I-K, dumpsters.com. Longtime maggots will remember Greg from MAP, M-A-P, as in Maximum Athletic Performance, which guides you to better output through better ingredients, also known as nutrition. Greg has been on the Rad Show many times and will be again, as he simplifies nutrition and helps us all understand what actually works when it comes to fueling our bodies, almost all of which can be found at maptrition.com. Every product is formulated with clinical precision and backed by science and purpose, and maptrition.com has something for every fitness level, even those of us who barely have a fitness level. With nearly 20 years as a nutritionist and a specialization in sports nutrition, Greg works with athletes and everyday individuals to optimize performance, energy, and overall health through smarter fueling strategies, all of which starts at maptrition.com. At the very least, we should all be taking daily multivitamins, and Greg has his formulated for exactly what a man or woman's body needs. Protein is in, but maybe instead of getting yours from mac and cheese with extra protein, you get it from maptrition.com. And of course, all things workout, training, and exercise are available as well. From pre-workout to creatine and other muscle builders to recovery supplements and more, all at maptrition.com. From morning breakfast essentials to post-workout recovery and everything in between, maptrition.com's full range of supplements, proteins, and wellness products are built to power your journey from start to finish. Check out all the products and find what's right for you and order it shipped to you all at maptrition.com. That's maptrition.com.
Welcome to the Rob and Steve Show. Like so many men, they played sports all the way through high school and then realized we suck. Let's just watch and talk about sports. Email them, ras@theradnetwork.com.
So I mentioned at the top of the show, I was just scanning, I don't know, it was on ESPN or something, and I've been seeing it all morning. It just seems like I watch different football. The little football I did watch yesterday, we talked about this, Steve. Preseason football, we're in week 2 now. If you're going to pay attention, this seems like the week because you're going to see your starters, if you're going to see them at all. You're going to see your backups. You're going to see names that you know. They're going to play for longer. Nobody's going to play next week in theory, well, except for all pro Shadur Sanders and Deshaun Watson, whatever the hell they're doing in Cleveland. So this is kind of it last night, and then moving through the weekend. If there's anything to like watch other than yay, it's football. So we you might have specific players or teams or overall looks. There were a couple games last night, and we weren't texting a lot, and so I might lay down a gauntlet here. Maybe we can get in a good little argument here. I don't know. But I think for me it was like there's so much on. I'm like, oh, I should text Steve. Well, what if he wasn't watching that play? What if he didn't see? Because there was all this football and all this baseball on, and I didn't know if it was monumental enough. But one of the stories, obviously, Kirk Cousins is, as far as we know, the Raiders QB1. But how did Mendoza do last night against the Texans? Did he do anything to close the gap? The reporting on it is everybody wants to focus on the pick six, and it was a bad interception. I get it. He tossed it to Wade Woodaz on the opening drive. Mendoza was drifting to his left. He worked back over the middle of the field. It was not a hard interception to make. I get it. 80 yards later, Texans got their touchdown. Okay. Bad pass. It's what you do when you're new to the NFL. Mendoza worked under center multiple times, something he never did in college. Had some zip on the ball, evidenced by an early completion to Jalen Naylor for 22 yards on a 2nd and long. That was a hell of a throw. The protection up front sucked. He took a few hits, and Malik Benson did drop 2 that were just gifts. So the story that I was watching had the subject line, the crawler on the bottom of the screen, something like, is this a setback performance for Mendoza? I don't know what Clint Kubiak, what his thinking is. I don't think it's vile or anything. It's obviously he's playing some sort of game. The Las Vegas Raiders coach isn't ready to name the starter after last night, saying, I don't want anyone to be comfortable in their job. It should always be that way for all positions, so let's keep going. That's kind of like a playful way of not saying what we all presume we think we know, which is Kirk Cousins the starter, and that's everything that's coming out. Crosby didn't play. Genty didn't play. Brock Bowers, Colton Miller. I don't really care about the Raiders in general, Steve. I thought I saw some really good things from Mendoza. Watching it through the prism of dude ain't the starter, needs to sit, needs to learn. Clearly, in my opinion, not ready for prime time. If they started him, he'd have an Aikman year. They'd probably go 1-16 or 2-15 or whatever. That one pass, and I don't know if it was the Naylor pass or not, where he threaded it between 3 defensemen. I first of all, I don't care if it's the B team of the defense. It was an incredible throw. I'm not saying he's the next Tom Brady or anything, but I saw a lot of good in Mendoza, and especially with the drop passes and all that, I'm having a problem with the framing of it being this disastrous night. So maybe you saw a different game.
No, I think I saw the same game. I had it on with volume. I thought it was a great game for Mendoza in this situation. It's preseason. If you're going to throw the pick six, you need to make some mistakes here or there and learn, okay, look, I can't do that. I thought he stood up pretty good against this Texans defense, which, the big part for me with the Texans was this defense is so good. I mean, they are just going to be so good. If CJ Stroud can do anything, and I'm worried about their wide receiver room now. Is Tank Dell going to make it back? Well, what are they going to do? But the Raiders, I thought there were positives that came out of it. Fernando Mendoza, as you said, you hit that throw and you're like, wow. I'm not sure that many quarterbacks can really make that throw. But he's not ready to be prime time, and he shouldn't be. It's the whole reason they signed Kirk Cousins. They brought him in, let him do it, let him continue to develop and learn the system. This Mike Washington just continues to impress me with the Raiders. Running back, big game in the first preseason game, another big run, which is what set up the long pick six that went for the touchdown. I really like him, and with him and Genty in that backfield, they may have something. Bringing back Josh Naylor, liked it. I think he's going to be really good. I think he's going to be their number, well, hide Brock Bowers. He's going to be their top wide receiver of this room. And Malik Benson, a lot of high hopes, a lot of stuff written up on him, some big drops. You can't be doing that. It's preseason. It's going to happen. Do it here, but they got to clean it up. And the other part, the big part that caught me was this Raiders offensive line just isn't very good. And it concerned me a little bit. I love the fact that Mendoza faced this pressure to get him used to the NFL, the speed. And sorry, being on the Raiders, not having an offensive line that can protect you very well, and learning how to get some quick throws out there, read the defenses fast, make a decision, and execute it without just taking sacks. I thought that was good. He had the one sack, and that was just, oh my gosh, the center, the guard, okay, look, we're going to let this guy go, double team this guy. I mean, that was just straight up the middle. Nobody touched him, and he had no room to go anywhere. So you can't even blame that sack on him in that situation. But the Raiders defense was questionable at best. I mean, Houston hung 17 in the first quarter on them. And so just little things. I've said this before. I'll say it again. I think the Raiders team is a better football team this year than they were last year. The results may not be there. I think the last 2 years, the Raiders have taken steps to become a better football team. They're moving in the right direction. They're in the wrong division, and you're not going to see the results. So hopefully ownership will be patient with Clint Kubiak and not expect him to win often and early, and understand. I think he's the right coach for the team. I like the offense he runs, and be patient. You got to give him. I'd like to see the Raiders give him 5 years to try to prove something. NFL coaches, like NHL coaches, they don't get 5 years to prove anything anymore.
I mean, I think Kubiak deserves 3 to show serious improvement. I don't think he needs to get the full 5 if 2 years from now they're still winning 4 games a year.
If they're moving in the right direction and building talent and a roster, and they just can't compete. And that's why I say, look, you got Bo Nix, you got Justin Herbert, you have Patrick Mahomes. You got to give them a little room because it is such a tough division that isn't going away anytime soon.
If we believe the reporting, it may be that of all people, Tom Brady is the cooling saucer in this whole thing. The reporting is he's the one that wants Mendoza to sit more than anyone. Well, then he's also the one who's like, guys, we're building something here. It's going to take time. A couple notes. First of all, you absolutely nailed it. The interception. That's the point of why Mendoza's out there. And all we've heard about this kid is he's the anti-Kyler Murray. He studies, he learns, the idea is, oops, shouldn't have thrown that one. Won't do that again. I don't know why we had to make such a big deal out of that and no big deal out of some of those precision throws. The offensive line, I'm just standing there going, why do teams keep this? Is what the Bears did to Caleb Williams his first season. No protection. And with the Raiders, you've got an elderly guy who's going to be your starter, and then Mendoza. The offensive line, quite honestly, for the future of the Raiders, if I'm to approach this from an analytical standpoint of caring about them, that scares me more than their defense. Their defense stinks, but they can improve that. That offensive line, they got to get through a season with that. I know they were playing the Texans, and the Texans are better than most, but at the same time, it was preseason against the Texans. I'm concerned, I guess would be the word, for that Raiders offensive line and who they're protecting.
And I agree with it. Take the Dallas Cowboys model. Look, build your offense. We'll worry about the defense later. We have to protect, our quarterback and Mendoza of the future. We don't want to be the Cincinnati Bengals and the San Diego Chargers and be like 5 years into their career and they can't protect anyone there. They need to take care of that. The other thing, as you were saying, the cooling pot in Tom Brady, and maybe this just goes into, please just let Tom Brady oversee the organization. So far, everything that leaks out is like, yeah, he's the best, but a lot of times that doesn't translate into these kind of roles. It was tough. Ted Williams wasn't necessarily the best manager when he managed the Washington Senators in 1970, 71. Pete Rose may not have been the best because they don't understand that not everybody has that gifted talent that they have. They can't perform at the level that you say is just normal. And that's what makes it difficult, which is where the journeyman players who probably should never have made it to that level that do turn out to be the best managers, etc. But let Tom Brady, no one else in that building seems to be doing anything. Let Tom Brady, give him more say. Let him be football operations like the Broncos did with John Elway. Let him oversee the organization. Get him out of the booth. That's my personal hope.
Mm-hmm.
But you can't tell me Tom Brady really wouldn't want to just run the Raiders and that becomes his focal point. And it's his team, his roster, his product. And let's go prove to the world that I'm the best at this as well.
Yeah, and especially that ego, absolutely. And you're so right. Tony La Russa, horrible baseball player, one of the best managers of the modern era. Jordan, the thing Jordan loves about race car driving, it's an individual sport. He gets to find the guys that are like him, as opposed to wait, I got three guys on this team that aren't like me. Now it's like no, he gets to find it's you're right. They can't. Their mentality doesn't let them think that you're not always going to go at full. You're not Jerry Rice. You're not me. You what?
They don't understand it because it's been that way for them their whole entire life. They don't really grasp that not everybody's wired like that.
Now, I wanted to see, I know it's counterintuitive. I wanted to see more CJ Stroud because of his struggles last year. He didn't play a ton last night. He looked okay, but he's the big question mark for this Texans team, I think, moving forward. They took a look, record notwithstanding, as you and I watched it, we both liked the Texans. We liked their makeup, but they struggled, quote, quote, last year, and it was all CJ Stroud when they did. What was it, 6 interceptions in that postseason game? Something asinine. I mean, he's the one I'm looking at more than anything.
And I think he might be one of the players that's on the hottest seat in the NFL. He's playing for his career right now. If he goes out and he does not perform this year, I think chances are he's out in Houston. They'll find someone, bring somebody else in. So he's playing for his career right now.
The other game last night, I wasn't really watching the Niner game as a Niner fan to see much out of Brock Purdy. We got one drive that lasted 12 plays. Didn't even get into Charger territory. Went from the Niners 6 to the 45. Brock Purdy went 4 of 6 for 29 yards, had a 3-yard scramble. He was able to complete a pair of third down passes, both of which went to rookie Deshaun Stribling, who stood out. You said, let's look at some of these guys. Stribling stands out. I can't deny that. Now, is it because he's the only one on the field? I don't think so. But the thing between Stribling, the thing we've already established, put any running back in this system, and they ain't Christian McCaffrey, but they'll run for 100 yards if we need them. But Mac friggin' Jones, my God, that guy, he is easily the best backup quarterback in the NFL. And there had to be a half dozen teams looking at that going, why didn't we Max Crosby these guys and offer them more? I almost was like, you can't wish injuries, but man, do I kind of wish Mac Jones was the starter as a Niner fan. But that's what I saw.
And situational quarterback, but what I would like to see is how good could Mac Jones be in the right situation? Would he become a Sam Darnold? And then it's like, hey, look, because I'm not telling you that Mac Jones is worse than Sam Darnold. I like them both. I've liked them. Sam Darnold was never in the right organization and or system. But once he got to Minnesota and they cut him loose, you got to see how good a quarterback he could be, and then goes on and wins the Super Bowl with Seattle. I'd like to see if Mac Jones in the right system can cut it loose. And there's one right there. I'm the Houston Texans. If CJ Stroud's not there, am I not looking at Mac Jones? Because, and I would look at Mac Jones, and I would probably, out of the 11 quarterbacks they say that are in the top 50, I'd probably take a shot in the second round at the best quarterback that's there, because I'm getting a quarterback that would normally go in the first round in the second round. So I have some value to that. And if Mac Jones turns great, look, I'm willing to take that shot. But if Mac Jones, continues to just fizzle and never really turns into the quarterback we hoped, even given that opportunity, then I got another kid that I've brought in that is equivalent to a first round pick, and we develop him. So that's the team I'd be looking at if I'm the Texans and CJ Stroud doesn't follow through.
Agreed, and I'm not in any way starting some type of controversy here. I'm asking a legit question. With CJ Stroud, you made the point he might be the quarterback who's on the hottest seat of quarterbacks. Where's Purdy in terms of if the Niners are healthy, which is a big if? They're healthy enough. They're fielding a team. They've got enough guys that should be catching the ball. They've got Kittle. They've got Samuel. They got Stribling. They've got Evans now and then, whatever. And Purdy, as he showed multiple times last year and the year before, when you and I would say this is the game where he has to step up and put the team on his shoulders, he couldn't. I think one time he did. If Purdy, is his seat a little warmish at all? And not like, oh, they're going to bring in Mac Jones, but like, are they going to step back and go, well, we wrapped this guy up, we paid him $60 million or whatever it is, we gave him everything. Is he now? I don't know what they do, but is there an evaluation warming thing going on with Purdy? Like, this is where you got to step up, pal. This is the year.
It should be, but they formed this marriage, so to speak, with the contract they signed. They're not going to do and pull a Denver Broncos and just eat that amount of money for a Russell Wilson, especially on a quarterback that this young and has performed. Now, if Brock Purdy was 34, 35, I think there's a bigger shot there. We watched the Falcons eat the money with Kirk Cousins. Never going to happen with Brock Purdy. I think it's a marriage. They're stuck with each other due to that contract. But I also think that where you were going with this is where that hesitation, because we kept saying, well, why haven't the Niners signed Brock Purdy? Why haven't they signed him? And the longer it went on, the more situations where he was playing games without his top weapons. And you and I, as you said, sat there and said, this is the game. He's got to step up. He's got to show that he deserves that $60 million a year. And for me, never did. I don't think there was a single game that I went, yes, that is the elite quarterback. He's earned his money. He's earned the contract. I think the Niners felt they didn't have a whole lot of other choices. So we have to sign our franchise quarterback, which is where my complaint with the NFL is and why the contracts are so out of hand. We see average quarterbacks still get 50 million because a team can't afford to go to the well and say, yep, we're going to cut it loose. We're going to drop our bucket down this, 500-foot shaft, and maybe we get water to drink. Maybe we don't, but I'm willing to take that chance. And you just don't see that, which is why you see a lot of these quarterbacks make this big money. And I think the NFL has to address it because every team is using up so much money in that quarterback position. And now we're seeing with the running back starting to get paid, the left tackle, the wide receiver, and the edge rusher. You're paying 5 positions, and that makes it tough.
There are 3 more games tonight, 2 on the NFL Network at 4 o'clock Pacific time. The Jets at the Steelers. And at 6 o'clock, the Packers are at the Broncos. 4:30 tonight, the Panthers are at the Jaguars. You got a full slate. Everybody's playing over the weekend. The Cardinals are going to have their 3rd starting quarterback in as many preseason games when they face the Cowboys tomorrow. Head coach Mike LaFleur told reporters this morning Gardner Minshew will get the start against Dallas. Carson Beck started the Hall of Fame game. Jacoby Brissett started last week. Beck and his injured ribs didn't even play last week. LaFleur said Beck is expected to throw today. But has not been ruled out. He hasn't been ruled out for this week, but he's unlikely to play at all. Of all the games, Steve, the 3 today, tomorrow, your Lions got the Commanders. The Bills are at the Browns with All-Pro Shador. And is there anything, since this is week 2, where we might see something of anything? The word is we're probably not going to see Mahomes at Tampa Bay tomorrow. Is there anything you're like, oh, really interested in this preseason game.
The games that I look at is the Steelers is one. Will Howard, Drew Alar, who's going to perform and what are they going to do there for that backup position. Uh, Cleveland, I want to see what they're going to do. The Cardinals, hey, here's a thought. Let's throw a third starting quarterback in there in our third preseason game. We get a fourth. I wonder if they're going to go to the fourth, or is their hand going to lean and say, okay, we gave 2 starts to this person because they can't figure out who's going to play quarterback either. I'm hoping they all play good enough, just like Cleveland. They all play about the same. And then it's that, okay, it's total mediocrity at its best at our quarterback position. We got to start somebody. Where are we going to go? So those are the things that I'm really looking forward to in these few games that I'll watch.
Now, the fallout you might get social media wise, internet wise, or sports show wise on Sunday and maybe into Monday is that tomorrow night is the game, preseason game, where the Buccaneers will host the Chiefs, that will be called locally in Tampa Bay by John Gruden, the former. Call it. He's going to do play by play. This is what he was wanting. He wanted, I want to try my shot. I sat next to Tirico. I can do play by play. And Rondé Barber will be the official analyst. So, of course, Gruden was on Rondé Barber's podcast this week where he laid out, and the word is they have been working. Like, these two have spent hours and hours prepping this idea, putting a lot of work into this idea. Gruden says this concept could be a game changer in the broadcast booth. Quote, I mean, there's been a conventional way. I sat up there for 9 years and did it. Mike Tirico, there was a cadence. 1st and 10, it's da-da-da-da, da-da-da-da, da-da-da-da. And then you have to be timely in your responses and get out before the next play. But I think, as long as we're on the same page, you, Rondé, and me, John Gruden, we love Tampa Bay Buccaneers. We're going to try to really educate the fans on some of the position battles, just the excitement of opening day in our stadium, and quote. So when I try to read through this, Steve, there's a couple things that jump out. One, it sounds like, don't hang your head. It sounds like they're trying to marry the idea of a traditional broadcast and what the Manning brothers do on Monday night, and which is kind of like add in a little podcasting, like, hey, we're just sitting around. Oh, there happens to be this game on, and we're going to talk about what's going on in the offensive tackle's mind because nobody talks about that. And so there's a concern of, is there too much jargon, too much inside? There's nobody there to say, guys, not everybody knows what a 4-3 is, or not everybody knows what you just said. That's not there. And then this, I'm not saying it's a terrible idea, but it's an interesting thing of, we're going to kind of take away the play-by-play. You, Steve, you watch a lot of stuff on mute. So you don't really need to be told by John Gruden what's happening. Maybe, though, the banter between the two of them will be so fascinating that you'll go, this is how I should be watching football.
Every scenario you pinned there, I don't see that happening. It's pulling, as you said, the play-by-play person and putting 2 color men in the booth. Well, why not keep a play person and put 2 color men in the booth before? We used to have Danny Don Meredith, Howard Cosell, along with, I don't know who the other one was. So they've been there, they've done that. And where it might be a little bit more entertaining for, say, myself, I still want the play-by-play stuff. I don't want to just have the color commentators, because they tried on these other channels, the Manning brothers, etc. Do I watch them? Have I watched them? Yes. I think I've put in a combined of 15 minutes, maybe, because it's not how I want to watch the game. I don't see my wife sitting down and watching a game like that in any way. So I think, in a sense, you're alienating anyone who is not more of the harder core sports fan. If you're more of the look, I like to watch it, but you kind of have to explain what's going on to me as far as, why that was a pass interference, or what down it is and how many yards they go, and stuff like that. I don't think you're going to keep my wife entertained.
No, and I think there's 2 other potential possibilities there too. One is these guys who played or coached the game, they can get lost in their conversation, and pretty soon they're talking about something that isn't jiving with what we're watching happening on the field. And kind of an adjacent to that if they're embroiled in some conversation about what it's like to be, coming out after halftime, and they're talking about that and they miss a play, and now they're trying to figure out what happened with us. That's their job. That's what they're supposed to be able to tell us. Jim Nance is supposed to be able to say, here's what happened, here's what they're looking at, as opposed to, oh, we didn't see it. What happened? Those things would drive me insane and make me just go away immediately.
And the good part of what you said, though, is it clarified, because we were both questioning John Gruden going play by play. That's such a difficult thing. No, he's saying, look, I want to be on a broadcast and eliminate the play by play. And I just want another guy who's a color guy so we can sit there, tell stories, get into various things. Yes, we can go more in depth because we played the game, coached the game, and we can bring that detailed thing that the hardcore fan really wants. But I think they're overestimating how much that hardcore fan really wants over watching the game and following the game and keeping us informed of what's going on. I love Tony Romo his first couple of years in the booth. His first year was amazing. I thought he was the best color man I'd heard forever. And he lost that because he was no longer in touch with the game like he used to be, and he didn't put in the time. But to go to this, so good news is NFL isn't sweating it out. They're going to throw him in a game, allow him to go, because he's not going to get hired to do this. I do not see this being a game changer, really successful. So the NFL doesn't have to worry about him being in the booth permanently every single week while he has his lawsuit against the NFL.
Rob and Steve continue next, only on the radnetwork.com.
The first time Corey walked into my home, I came around the corner, extended my right hand to shake it, and said to him, "Wow, you're big." And that would be Corey from QuickDumpsters.com. Quick is spelled wrong intentionally. Quick, QUIK, in charge and removed dozens of boxes of total junk, unusable dog kennels, desks that were falling apart, a worthless old smoker that couldn't be fixed, bag after bag of crap, and I can't remember what else. He was quick, spelled wrong, QUIK, quiet and clean. Well, he wasn't clean. I mean, he was. But I'm not commenting on his hygiene. I meant that his work was clean. He swept everything when he was done, and the house looked like he'd never even been there. Corey's the real deal, and I couldn't be more proud and happy to call him a brand new advertiser. His story's incredible, his dedication unmatched, and his motivation to succeed larger than he is, and that's saying something. Quotes are free. You don't even have to have them over to your house. Just send him some pics or videos, and you'll get your price, schedule your day and time, and watch someone else get that junk out of your house. Go to QuickDumpsters.com. Quick, QUIK, Dumpsters.com. Quick, QUIK, Dumpsters.com. Longtime maggots will remember Greg from MAP, M-A-P, as in Maximum Athletic Performance, which guides you to better output through better ingredients, also known as nutrition. Greg has been on the Rad Show many times and will be again, as he simplifies nutrition and helps us all understand what actually works when it comes to fueling our bodies, almost all of which can be found at maptrition.com. Every product is formulated with clinical precision and backed by science and purpose, and maptrition.com has something for every fitness level, even those of us who barely have a fitness level. With nearly 20 years as a nutritionist and a specialization in sports nutrition, Greg works with athletes and everyday individuals to optimize performance, energy, and overall health through smarter fueling strategies, all of which starts at maptrition.com. At the very least, we should all be taking daily multivitamins, and Greg has his formulated for exactly what a man or woman's body needs. Protein is in, but maybe instead of getting yours from mac and cheese with extra protein, you get it from maptrition.com. And of course, all things workout, training, and exercise are available as well. From pre-workout to creatine and other muscle builders to recovery supplements and more, all at maptrition.com. From morning breakfast essentials to post-workout recovery and everything in between, MapTrition.com's full range of supplements, proteins, and wellness products are built to power your journey from start to finish. Check out all the products and find what's right for you and order it shipped to you all at MapTrition.com. That's MapTrition.com.
Steve has been running sports books for decades, and Rob spent decades running radio so far into the ground he just created his own network. This is the Rob and Steve Sports Show on the RAD Network.
As established yesterday, Steve is just champing at the bit. He's got 50 minutes or so to go until he's going to just curl up on his sofa and turn on the Major League Baseball package and watch the game maybe of the whole weekend as the Brewers host the Braves with Sale going against Mizorowski. So we got some baseball to talk about. We're going to start with those Brewers. We're going to do it a little different. I'm always trying to find different ways to kind of update us on where we are with baseball and such. They are still the best team in Major League Baseball. The Brewers beat the Mariners 7-4 last night. Robert Gasser lasted only 3 2/3 innings, was lifted mid at bat by manager Pat Murphy after he fell behind in the count. Gasser gave up 4 hits and 4 runs. Whereas, Steve, we've been talking about the Brewers, and as they get into postseason, it seems like they've got a good, solid top 3. They didn't land Scooble. Where does Gasser fit into all this? That wasn't a very good outing. And where are the Brewers in general once they hit postseason? Because they will.
The Gasser's that stopgap 5th guy out there. He's been all right. Hasn't been bad. The Brewers hung a 5 spot in the first inning. Looked like the game should be over. He should be able to just cruise on through it, don't get in too much trouble. Started getting in trouble, and it's that, look, we can't blow a 5-0 lead we were given in the first inning and go on to lose this game, and just felt it was time to pull him out. They have Mizorowski on the mound today, so you're hoping that he can at least get into the 5th inning, 6th inning when they decide to pull him and relieve the bullpen of a little bit of a pressure. So he went to it early, hoping Miz can give him a little distance today.
And the Brewers in general, though, they've got a 5-game lead over the Cubs, and it seems like it's kind of that's where it's sat. They went to 4.5 at one point, and it's 5. And the Brewers, it really feels like the Brewers and Cubs will make it into the postseason, barring some, are the Cubs due for another 12-game losing streak kind of thing. But are they overly positioning themselves? Are they worried too much about Mizorowski getting there? Although then you can make the case if they don't, he'll be worthless when they get there. Because it's interesting when you look at some of these schedules for we're down to a few weeks, 30 games, give or take. And the Brewers have to deal with Atlanta. That we just talked about that. That's going to be the big series this weekend. Then they go to the Mets. They host the Rangers. They got to go to Chicago Cubs. They host Cincinnati. They got the Cubs again. They got 7 games against the Cubs head to head. They deal with the Pirates and the Orioles, and then the Phillies and the Cardinals to end. It's not a cakewalk for the Brewers. And the Cubs, they got the Mariners, the Diamondbacks, the Reds, the Brewers, the Marlins, the Pirates. You go through them. The Cubs might have a little bit easier because they deal with Miami and Cincinnati, but they finish your Red Sox. I don't know how much you glean from looking at this or if it's all feel. The Cubs feel with PCA so hot. Their changes at the trade deadline. It feels like 30,000 feet. Momentum is with the Cubs. Not that it isn't with the Brewers. Not that they're going to overtake the Brewers. But I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if we're next week at this time talking about the Cubs are a game or so out.
Yeah, keep in mind the last 10. Brewers are 5-5. Playing 500 baseball. Cubs are 6-4. They've made up 1 game in their last 10 games. It's really going to come down to, I believe, those 7 games that they face each other. And if you're the Brewers, you need Mizorowski healthy for those games. That's what you're trying to get to, make those games meaningful, and then hope you win, 4 or 5 of those games head to head, and you should win the division. It's not lost. They're still going to make the playoffs. Even if they don't make it, they'll be a wild card team. They'll be at the top of the wild card team, and they'll still be in a good position. They're trying to thread the needle with not putting too many innings on Mizorowski, trying to get him so he's healthy and ready to go in the playoffs. But they are going to view those. I have to believe they're going to view those 7 games against the Cubs as playoff games. They're not only battling to win this division; they're battling to be the number one seed in the National League and or all of baseball.
Do you right now, do you give advantage Milwaukee? Is it Milwaukee's to lose? Is it a pick 'em? I mean, I I'm leaning more towards I'm not saying it's a pick 'em, but I'm leaning more towards boy, the Cubs have a lot going in their direction.
The Cubs do have a lot going in the direction. The picking up of Gosman and Clay Holmes should really help out because they now have some veteran leadership at the top of that rotation. To go with Matthew Boyd, where 3 weeks ago, and before the trade deadline, I'm like Matthew Boyd's been their one pretty good starter that's gone out there. It's great to see Bregman is starting to hit. Pico Armstrong, as we talk about, is an MVP leader right now to win the MVP in the National League. Dansby Swanson injury worries me a little bit. I'm waiting to see how they're able to handle that because that defense up the middle was so good. But I'm not panicked on the Brewers, though. I mean, you say, look, we're going to go Gosman to Clay Holmes to Matthew Boyd. I'll tell you right now, I will take Mizorowski to Kyle Harrison to Logan Henderson in those 3 matchups. I think it tilts towards the Brewers. Brewers can score. They're a good offensive team. They have depth to that lineup. And keep in mind, Bryce Trang has been hurt. You're getting back one of the best second basemen in baseball. The Brewers always figured out in the bullpen. That's one of the things. You can go back to, Devin Williams and Josh Hader. And I mean, we can go on and on about dominant closers that have closed for this Brewers team until they move on. The Brewers have the advantage of what is it, like a 5-game lead right now. And I think their starting rotation is still better than the Cubs. And the Cubs are just hot. So I would take the Brewers still to win this division. But those 7 games are going to be key because if they go 2-5, that 5-game lead's immediately 2 just out of that. And then where do you go from there? I think both teams have a fairly easy schedule. The Brewers is a little bit more difficult. That ending with the Cardinals Phillies after the Cubs part, because you got to figure after the Cubs series is that's the big ones. The Phillies are still fighting. Maybe they're chasing down the Braves. We know they're going to the playoffs, so we think. And the Cardinals, like it or not, as much as I've been saying, look, they're not making the playoffs. I think they're realists. They know, look, let's just keep going. It's been fun. We've been in contention. And their starting pitching has been pitching really good. And their top 4 in this lineup has been really good, especially as of late. Alec Burleson is getting the day off today. I mean, the guy's hitting like 280 something, 21 bombs, 93 RBI. He has stepped up. Jordan Walker with another home run last night. Here's 2 of their top prospects for the last 2-3 years. They came up so young, hadn't produced. They're finally putting it together with that JJ Weatherholt, who is their rookie this year. They're showing they're young. It isn't a rebuild season. And I think they're going to play till that 162nd game. And that's the one downside I look at the Brewers is they finish with a tougher schedule after the Cubs than the Cubs do.
Sometimes doing this show with Steve is like playing fetch with the Labrador. You'll throw the tennis ball that says the Brewers on it. And somehow he smells and finds the tennis ball in the bushes that says the Cardinals. And he says, hey, Dad, let's go grab this one. So it's my job to bring everything back and go over a few different things in there, including because what we have here is we're in, as we've said all this week, Steve, every single game almost matters in baseball. Like last night, yesterday, the A's Royals. That was I think maybe there were 2 exceptions yesterday. This weekend, it's basically what Nationals Marlins. If we're gonna go as far as saying the Marlins probably, even though they're kind of there, are I mean every game matters. So all of these series is that we're gonna preview here in a second. They're all intertwined. We've talked about a few things. We've mentioned the Braves a couple times. The Braves have that 5-game lead over the Phillies. They were swept in 3 by the Twins in Minnesota. They had lost 5 of 6. And they did beat the White Sox 2-0 yesterday. The Braves, as we talk about, can they hold off? The Phillies, they've got Milwaukee today. We've already talked about that and all weekend. They've got the Dodgers. Now they do get a break after that. The Rockies, the Nationals. Oh God, the Phillies for 4, Tampa Bay for 3, the Phillies for 3, Chicago for 3, Houston for 3, and then the Braves finally finish with the Reds and the Marlins. It ain't a cakewalk for the Braves at all with just looking at their schedule. Never mind what the Phillies do. And you just as recently as a few days ago, we're talking about the Braves. It seems like you keep waiting for their foot to get on the gas, and it's not happening yet.
And they have a tough end of the schedule. And Chris Sale, it's like Chris Sale and any warm body we can roll out on the mound. That's how their starting rotation has appeared. Bad news is Chris Sale going into tonight's game is 0-2 so far in the month of August. His ERA is sitting at 3. He's still in that Cy Young candidate, but this is where the Braves struggles are that we're seeing recently. When Chris Sale is not even able to go out and get wins for the Braves, they could be in a little trouble. I like their lineup. They have depth there. They can hit the ball. And they've done a great job of figuring out how to win when they don't have anything. Look at what they've gotten out of Martin Perez this year. It's been amazing. They've run Carlos Carrasco out on the mound there for several starts, and he hasn't been even a decent pitcher since rolling back 5 years ago with Cleveland type of thing. But they keep finding ways to do it, and I think they're going to continue to find ways to do it well enough to win this division, even though Phillies have better staff. You sit there and you look at Zach Wheeler and Sanchez and Jesus Luzardo has been lights out for the last 2 months. They go 3 deep as well as anyone in the game, and they have this lineup. The Phillies continue, even though they're right there. To me, they continue to underachieve. I keep bringing it up. I'm not comfortable yet with the big shift of let's move half my position players to new position players while we're in a pennant race trying to run down the Braves. I still believe they'll make the playoffs. I'm just not sure they're going to have enough good baseball in them because they're too inconsistent to run down the Braves.
See, the Phillies, though, to me, they seem like a team. It sure looks like they're going to get into the postseason with barring something stupid. That once they're in, they're formidable in those short series. Where there's other teams, obviously a lot of the teams in the American League, but there are other teams that I'm not as excited. Of course, I can make the case for the Diamondbacks, but I'm not really that excited. The Phillies, I can make the case and passionately believe they could be in the National League Championship Series once they're in the playoffs.
I'll go out on a limb and take it a step farther. You keep Zach Wheeler, Christopher Sanchez, Jesus Luzardo throwing like they are. Don't look at the record and don't look at but with that lineup, I will say that they are the second best team in the National League if they played to their potential.
Now, the other team that we mentioned in there, with the White Sox, if you look at the American League Central, the hottest team in the American League Central is actually the Royals. They've won 5 in a row, although everybody's pretty much 5-5, 4-6, 6-4. The White Sox, they went 5-5 over the last 10. The Twins are right behind them. They've won 3 in a row. White Sox up by 3.5. Anthony Kay yielded 2 runs on 5 hits and 6+ innings, walked 1, struck out 6 yesterday in that losing effort to the Braves. And they dropped 3 of 4. The Cubs did, and the White Sox did. It's been the White Sox, the Guardians, the White Sox, the Guardians all year. Now you've got the Twins up there. The Guardians are still hanging around. The Tigers are still there. The White Sox this weekend are at home. They open up against the Mets for the weekend. So this is, in theory, Steve, a weekend where the White Sox can kind of right things. They should, in their mind, I would think, be thinking 2 out of 3 at home against the Mets. Let's see where things stand on Monday.
And I hope they do. This is a series they need to win, but credit to the Mets. They're 7-3 in their last 10 games. They're playing good baseball. Sean Manaea's getting the ball tonight. It is in the month of August. He's 2-0. His ERA sitting at 3.26. And to add to that, opponents are only hitting 229 in the this month with a whip of 119. Now, Sean Burke's going for the White Sox, and he's been a really pleasant surprise this year. He's 7-6. His whip is sitting at 1.10. But in his last 7 games, he's 2-2, so the record's not there, but an ERA of 2.18 in those 7 games. Opponents, lefties are hitting 220 against him. Righties are hitting 217 against him for the season. He's been able to get people out. He's throwing the ball well. The White Sox they're at home. They are a better team at home, and they need to beat the Mets. But, man, the Mets are playing right now.
Now, the White Sox, if they stay in this scrum, they stay, a game or 2 or 3 or 4 ahead. They have a couple things going for them as their season winds down when you get to the middle of September. First of all, they'll control their destiny to a certain point because they have to play in Cleveland for 3 games and host Detroit for 4. So they've got 2 divisional matchups right there. And then they finish, the White Sox do, at Kansas City and hosting the Rockies. So it's lined up for the White Sox. If they can just hang in for 4 weeks, then they control everything and they can finish out and the schedule. It feels to me like the White Sox, they're going to win it. It feels like they're going to do this. Hasn't been pretend.
They have been overachieving all season. No one anywhere thought the White Sox were going to have this kind of season. And that's where I've been saying from the get-go. I love what Max Venable has done, going to fundamental baseball, moving runners first to third, stealing some bases, sacrificing. And the thing that everybody forgets, they got a ton of power. I mean, they hit a lot of home runs. Colson Montgomery is one of the top, power hitting shortstops in the game, and they play good baseball. There's just the pitching is questionable. That's my concern there. I'm not sure they have, but guys like Sean Burke that I wouldn't put in that upper echelon has put up good numbers. I mean, the guy has been good this year. 7-6 ERA, a little over 3. I don't think anybody expected that from him. Noah Schultz is learning at the major league level because they knew they were thin in pitching. They've brought him up, and he's going. And I can't remember their ace, the guy who started opening day for him. He lasted like 3 starts. He's gone down to the minor leagues. This is the guy they expected to carry him, and he was out, in April down to the minor leagues. Davis Martin, great first half. He has really been laboring his last several starts. So will the pitching be able to hang on and get them there? I think it can, because Detroit traded away Skubal and Mize, and the Guardians just can't seem to get any traction.
So in the NFC South, or the AL West as we call it, the Mariners, this is an interesting tactic. The Mariners have either said, screw it, we're done, or they've said, hey, we're only 4 games out of the lead. We can't get anything going. We haven't had traction, but we're only 4 games out of the lead. And Christ, every other day, an American League West team is taking that 3rd spot for the wild card. What if we split the difference? What if we look towards next year, but maybe still take a run at this year? I think that's what they're trying to sell themselves on. The Mariners' big news yesterday was they are promoting left-handed pitcher Cade Anderson. He is the top pitching prospect in baseball. If you're a baseball fan, you've heard the name. It's been bandied about for over a year. He's 22. In 18 starts, he had a 1.06 ERA with 135 strikeouts and 13 walks across 93 and a third innings in the minor leagues. Good Lord. He has a fastball, changeup, curveball, and slider. So they're bringing him up. He's going to join the rotation, they say, right away, with Logan Gilbert, Brian George Kirby, and Bryce Miller. We get to see him. They get to see him. We get to see the top Hey, if he's that good, maybe he propels the Mariners to something. And if not, they get to see what's coming next year.
Inconsistent pitching for the Mariners has really been an issue this year, but on a whole, the pitching hasn't been the issue. It's been their offense, which has struggled. And to give you an idea, Cal Raleigh, and the only person I can even compare him to, and remember Chris Davis, when he was a stud with the Orioles, hit 53 homers, I want to say, 2019, somewhere in there. And the next year he hit a $196. Well, I think Cal Raleigh has to improve his batting average by 45 points before the end of the year in order to even get to the $196 that we saw from Chris Davis. I don't recall any other huge powered year where the next year they were that bad. And I'll even give you one more with Ke'Bryan Hayes has been the worst hitter in all of baseball. Third base with the Cincinnati Reds. I think he's hitting a $154, and I keep looking at it going, how's he still playing? How do they keep moving him out there? He is even hitting more than Cal Raleigh is, and you shake your head. Their offense hasn't been there. Kate Anderson is unbelievable. He's making the jump from AA to to the major leagues. But Seattle has been, I believe, very smart in this development. They put him in a AA team that the parks are much more pitcher friendly to keep his confidence. And he has been dominating. He has been off the charts great versus promoting him up to AAA to where he goes into that Pacific Coast League. And now it's hitter friendly ballparks and maybe his numbers aren't there. And it has a little bit to do with his confidence level, but they're bringing him up. And I wish him the best. He is the best pitching prospect in the minor leagues. I'm just not convinced. They're going to move Emerson Hancock to the bullpen and do that. The pitching hasn't been the issue. Somebody's got to hit the ball for this team.
I mean, it sounds like, and this is from MLB.com. It does sound like tonight might be Emerson Hancock's last start, because the way it's being reported is that immediately Anderson will join the rotation with Logan Gilbert, Brian Woo, George Kirby, and Bryce Miller. Hancock's the odd man out. Hancock pitches tonight. He's going against Matthew Boyd for the Chicago Cubs. Again, big series, good series for everybody involved. By the way, what's his name? Kate Anderson is scheduled to start tomorrow. Everybody will get bumped by a day. Brian Woo will go Sunday. At least that's the way they have it set up for now. So is this for the Mariners? And if you're a fan, is this make or break weekend then in Seattle? Or because it's the West, we got a month?
It should be make or break and get a good gauge. The Cubs are playing great baseball. Look, can we compete? But it's the West. I mean, doesn't really matter. Just try to stay around 500. 5-5 in this division. Every 10 games seems to make up a game on anybody. It's not like you got to go 7-3, just 5-5. Last week, the Angels were the best in their last 10 games at 5-5. Maybe Seattle can go 5-5, and they were 4-6. Let's get it to 5-5, and maybe they'll be the best in the division.
So, in what we agree is the division we'll probably be talking about until the very, 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 very end, the American League West. Jacob deGrom did, as we told you yesterday, reach 2,000 career strikeouts in the second fewest games and innings pitched in Major League history when the Rangers right-hander fanned the first two batters against the Nationals last night. deGrom allowed a second-inning single, a fifth-run walk, 6 shutout innings, 94 pitchers. Rangers win 2-0. Great, Steve. The Astros are in first place by a game over the Rangers. The aforementioned Seattle Mariners are 4 games back. The Astros, you got the Astros are about to deal with the A's. They got the Yankees and the Mets, the White Sox, the Diamondbacks, the Phillies, the Rays. Then they got the Royals, the Braves, Mariners, A's. The Astros do finish with the A's. I don't know how you even predict at this point what could happen in the American League West with a game, but the Astros are up, so we'll start with them. They are in Houston, hosting the A's, who are throwing one of their 2 good pitchers, JT Ginn, tonight.
Yeah, JT Ginn, surprising good season, 8-7, 3.5 ERA over his last 7 games, 2-3 with a 4.4 ERA. But JT Ginn, one thing to point out here, he has not been good against lefties this year. His whip is 1.52, where against righties, his whip is 0.84. In his last 3 outings, he's 0-1, but opponents are hitting 269 against him. The Astros just throwing a name out there. Wisniewski, this guy is just an arm. He's 2-1, but his ERA is over 5 on the season. Righties against him are hitting at a 286 clip. His whip is 1.55. So far in August, he's had 3 starts, 1-1 with a 5.29 ERA. And keep in mind, the Astros right now, we're on that Triple Crown watch with Yordan Alvarez. but he has not been hitting very good as of late. I think he's hitting right around 220 or so over his last X amount of at bats. And I'm going to hit something on the A's there. They are 11-41 in their last 52 games. And I know, look, Jacob Wilson's out, Soderstrom. I mean, they have a lot of injuries. The question I would have to the A's and to you, Rob, is will Mark Kotsay keep his job?
I'd love him to, but who knows? You always need a scapegoat. It, it ain't like it's a lack of passion or a lack of leadership. It's youth and it's injuries. The players love him to death. So we go to the who you going to get that's better thing, especially if you're the A's and you're stuck in West Sac if there even is a season next year before you go into the bright light. I don't think Kotze will last long in Vegas because so much will be expected, and I don't know that they'll have the talent by then. Uh, this ain't a team that needs a managerial change. The way I mean, I watch them almost every day. They need what we've talked about. They need to get rid of some of this garbage, let people play. And Kotze's such he's one of those player manager guys. He gives these guys a chance, especially these young pitchers, to work through their problems. I mean, he's kind of the ideal manager for this team for now. I don't see the point in firing him, but I certainly is in my mind of Jesus. I mean, and that's I didn't realize it was 11-42.
11-41 in their last 52 games. I think he's gone at the end of the year, and I like him. I just think it's going to be one of those the collapse. Because remember, we weren't talking that long ago when the A's were in first place, battling for this division, and 11 wins in 52 games. That makes the Rockies look like a playoff contender.
It's bad. I'll grant you that. Yeah. The other one in the West would be you talked earlier in the week about the Angels, the other horrible team in the West, and how they can be spoilers because the A's just don't seem to be interested in it yet. But the Angels had a chance to take down some West teams earlier, and now this weekend they've got Texas. They're in Texas. They're throwing Reed Detmers today at Mackenzie Gore for the Rangers.
Yeah, and this is just Reed Detmers is their ace, and unfortunately, he pitches for the Angels. He's a really good pitcher. He's 4-8 on the season, but his WHIP is 1.06. In his last 7 games, 1-2, ERA sitting right at 2.8. He's a really good pitcher. For the month of August, he's 1-1, ERA of 2, and for August, opponents are only hitting $150 off of this guy. His WHIP is 0.78, and yet he still sits at 1-1. It just shows how bad the Angels are. Mackenzie Gore, they paid a big price to bring him on board. He has not lived up to expectations. 7-9 in the season, a 4.45 ERA. Lefties are crushing this guy. Lefties, his WHIP is 1.61 against left-handed batters. He had a terrible July, 1-3 in 6 starts, 6.82, but he has been much better in August. He's 1-0 in August, ERA of 2.12, and opponents in the month of August are only hitting 224 against him. Texas needs this guy to step up. We watched DeGrom, who had a terrible last July and August. Great game. That's the Jacob DeGrom we all know. And they need him. They need Mackenzie Gore to step up. It's the Angels. You need to be winning these series. 2-1 in the 3-game series isn't good enough. You need to sweep, especially when you're at home.
We mentioned earlier, as you were meandering your way through all the postseason possibilities, you mentioned the Cardinals, and we've got to spend some time on them, especially after yesterday when the Reds had a 5-4 lead going into the 9th inning, and then everything fell apart. Thank you, Dane Myers, who drops a fly ball with 2 outs in the 9th, and a floodgate opens up for a 6-run inning to give the Cardinals a 10-9 win. Now, the Cardinals just won't go away. In that National League wild card, it is the Cubs and the Phillies and the Padres. The Padres have a 1-game lead over the Diamondbacks and a 2.5-game lead over the Cardinals, who weren't even supposed to be here right now this time of the year. They've got to deal with, we keep talking about the Phillies, and they're going to start today. We're going to talk about that. Then the Cardinals have to deal with the Orioles. They've got the Pirates. They go to LA to play the Dodgers, but wait, then they go to Colorado and San Francisco. They host the White Sox. They host the Giants. They host the Nationals. They go to Pittsburgh. They end the year with Milwaukee. St. Louis has a path, Steve. They do have a path if they can win, if they want us, they've got some real breaks in there if you're going to stay on paper. And they've got the Phillies today where they're throwing Hunter Dobbins against, you mentioned him earlier, Jesus Luzardo for the Phillies.
Yeah, and the Phillies are riding a 6-game winning streak right now. Hunter Dobbins is swingman. He has thrown out of the bullpen into that starting rotation. 3-3 on the year, 3.42 ERA. But night games this year, he is 1-3 in night games. So far in the month of August, he's thrown it well. He just hasn't gotten the wins. He's 1-2 in his 3 starts, ERA of 2.76. But opponents are only hitting a $1.72 against him so far in the month of August. Hopefully they can get a nice start out of him. Jesus Luzardo, as I said earlier, has just been lighting it up. This guy is 11-5 on the season, 3.23, but the last 2 months he's been incredible. He's 8-4 in night games. His ERA is a little under 3, but lefties, he's dominating them. Lefties are only hitting a $1.54 against him. And in the month of August, he's 2-0, ERA of 1.25, and he has allowed in his 3 starts only 3 runs, not earned runs, 3 runs total in almost 22 innings. Opponents are hitting a $1.92. His whip is 0.92. He has really turned it up in the month of August. And I said July. In July, his whip was 0.83. So the last 2 months shows why he went to the All-Star game. He has been one of the elite pitchers in the game, and Philly just needs him to keep going because they need to roll into 7 straight wins.
Now the Cardinals of the National League to me are kind of sort of like the Twins of the American League. I don't know what the hell the Twins are doing, and they won't go away, and they're still just hanging around. And that it gives us an opportunity to also at the same time jump to that National League West. We know the Dodgers are going to win it. Then you got the Padres and the Diamondbacks, but there are the Phillies as well that you just talked about, and they're hanging in there. And does it ultimately just come down to the Padres and the Diamondbacks beating the hell out of each other as they try to make their way and figure out who's going to get it? Arizona's at home all weekend. They host Cincinnati. San Diego has to host Minnesota. On paper, I guess, advantage Arizona, but that's who we got this weekend in the NL West.
Yeah, in this Padres game, they have not announced yet who will be starting. It looks like it's going to be Randy Vasquez for them against the Twins. As you said, the Twins just continue to stick around and play decent baseball. Every time you're ready to bury them, they come on. They're riding a 3-game winning streak right now. But Connor Prelep is going for him. He has struggled this year. He's 3-6, ERA of 5.3. But in away games, and this is an away game, opponents are hitting 301 against him. His whip is 1.72 in road games. That's a tough one to overcome. Randy Vasquez going for the Padres. He had a great start to the season. April, May, he's fallen apart. He's 8-6 on the season, 4.3 ERA. But Randy Vasquez, lefties are hitting 312 for the year against him. That's way too much. And even at home, he's 4-4 at home, ERA almost 5, and batters at home in San Diego, a pitcher-friendly ballpark, especially at night. He's still giving up opponents at a 284 batting average, a whip of almost 1.5, but he has been decent in August. He's 2-0, ERA 3.38. And he's really coming around with that average. Opponents are hitting in August against him 193, and his whip has been 0.81. He's given up only 6 runs in his 3 games he's pitched in August, and they need him to be there because they need that 4th, 5th with Vasquez and Walker Buehler if they're going to run down the Diamondbacks and hang in that wild card spot.
And then we have the American League East, where the Yankees have a 4-game winning streak, but they stay 4 games back of the Tampa Bay Rays. The Red Sox are 8 games back. It's the wild card that is just so wild with the American League East. The Yankees and Red Sox are in, and they're in solidly. You got the Twins right now tied with the Rangers for that 3rd spot. Oh, hey, there's the Blue Jays, only half a game out. The Orioles are 2 games back, as we documented yesterday. Everybody except the Red Sox gets to cannibalize one another in this American League East. The Blue Jays went out and they beat the Rays yesterday. The Yankees are going to be hosting the Blue Jays all weekend. Yankees are throwing Schlittler tonight. The Orioles are hosting Tampa Bay, who's throwing Freddie Peralta. Meanwhile, the Red Sox are sitting in Boston waiting for Logan Webb and the Giants to show up against Sonny Gray. So on paper, your Red Sox are set. They're at home. I know that was an issue earlier in the year. To play one of the 5 worst teams in all of baseball, they should be in a good position to win, in theory, 2 out of 3. While the Yankees, the Blue Jays, the Orioles, the Rays, they're all just nipping at each other's heels. I don't know how much movement we see in the American League East, but the Red Sox should be in a good spot Monday.
I'm hoping the Red Sox are going to good spot Monday. They need to sweep this series against the Giants. There's not a whole lot going with the Giants. And really, for me, it comes down to tonight's game. I mean, the Giants are throwing Logan Webb. Giants are 3-7 in their last 10 games. Red Sox sitting at 4-6. But Logan Webb continues to show why he is that great pitcher. He did slump there early on in the season, but he's turned in a solid season. 8-7, ERA at 3.5. His WHIP for the year is 1.06. In his last 7 games, he's 3-1 with a WHIP of 0.85. So far for the month of August, 2-0, a 0.9 ERA. He has only given up 2 runs so far in 3 starts in the month of August. He's throwing the ball as well as anyone. Sonny Gray, 15-3 for this Red Sox team, ERA of 2.65. He's throwing the ball well. Night games for the Red Sox, he is 11-2, a 2.1 ERA. But righties do hit him better than lefties. Righties are hitting him at a 261 batting average so far for the season. But he just continues to be lights out. In August, he's 2-1. ERA of 0.95. He also has only given up 2 runs so far in his 3 outings in the month of August. This should be one of those 1-0 games because neither pitcher is giving up a whole lot of anything. And hopefully the Red Sox can get to Logan Webb early and put some runs on the board. But this is that classic pitching matchup that you like to see on paper if you go by the starting pitchers.
By the way, tomorrow, the Giants and the Red Sox are the Fox game of the week at 4 o'clock. That'll be Blade Tidwell against Patrick Sandoval. And then on Sunday, the Giants are throwing Carson Whisenhunt against Jake Bennett. And that game is on NBC, so you can see those games all weekend long. Have a great weekend. We are back on Monday.
This has been a presentation of the Rob and Steve Sports Show, brought to you by the Rad Network and is copyrighted by the RadNetwork.com and Williams Broadcasting for the private use of our audience. Any reproduction, accounts, or descriptions of whatever Rob and Steve just talked about without the express permission of the Rad Network, Williams Broadcasting, and Rob's really mean lawyers is prohibited. So don't do it.